Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome back to Mindful Combat. Now, for this video, I'm going to be discussing a subject that I've touched on a recent live stream. So, if you don't know, and this is the first time you checked out any of my content, every Sunday, 9:30 p.m. that's GMT London time, I do a live stream talking to as many of you as possible, and I talk about anything fighting. I take on any questions, and throughout the week, I give you guys the opportunity to ask me any question that I'll then discuss over the course of the live stream. Of course, my channel's still very small, so any question that I get asked, I'll easily be able to pick up. I don't normally get asked much. I actually only get one guy consistently asking me, so thank you for that, Eric. And so please, guys, check that out every Sunday, and I encourage all participation. And I really appreciate that. And one of the main reasons why I started this channel was to interact with as many of you guys as possible. So thank you for everyone who's been supporting me. So firstly, shout out to you, Eric, because this is a subject that you've asked me to answer and speak about in my last live stream. But the more I thought about it, the more I had lots to think about, and there was more that I wanted to expand on it. So I thought, you know what, it's a good idea for me to do a video dedicated especially to this subject, because during the live stream sometimes I veered off topic, etc. And I think this is a very interesting subject in itself, and it deserves some further thought. So the question is this: can Bellator become a true competitor to the UFC? Now, firstly, before I go into this, let me just talk about some of the importance of this. In the world of fighting, or in the world of mixed martial arts in particular, there's certain fans who, though they call themselves MMA fans, they don't watch nothing outside of the UFC product. They won't respect anything outside of the UFC product, and they'll basically disparage any fighter that doesn't fight in the UFC. He'll be a great fighter while he's in the UFC, but when he's left, well, he could never have made it. And I've seen that on some occasions, even with guys like Gegard Mousasi, which baffles my brain. I call those UFC shills. For the sport of mixed martial arts to flourish, as fans, we want there to be as much of a high level product as possible. So it is important for there to be a competitor to the UFC. It was great when Pride was about, and it was great when Strikeforce was about, because it encourages UFC to elevate their game, which also encourages other promoters to elevate their game. It's also great for the fighters, because it provides them other avenues to test their worth, go get their worth, know their self-worth, and get paid as much as they can throughout the course of their careers. And that's important, because I want fighters to be able to make a good living doing what they love and providing me with content that I love. So it's important for there to be a true competitor to the UFC. So if you're a UFC shill, you're probably not going to like this video, so click away, leave right now. Alright, so now let's get into the subject. Bellator with its inception started with Bjorn Rebney. Bjorn Rebney started it with a tournament format, and the tournament format, I love the product straight away. Now, it originally brought about some champions that maybe weren't the most exciting champions, guys like that people didn't know about, guys like Cole Conrad, who retired at 9-0 and went on to work in a law firm. I always wonder what Cole Conrad could have achieved. If you ain't checked him out, watch out some of his fights. He was such a big, dominating guy. I think he was one of Brock Lesnar's friends as well. He weren't a physical specimen. He was, and I think he felt like he never had the image that would succeed in MMA, and he decided to walk away. And it's kind of sad that he did. You had guys like Christian Mpumbu becoming the light heavyweight champion. But then the early days of Bellator did see some stars, because Eddie Alvarez became the lightweight champion. Paddy Mike, challenged Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight championship, failed, and then went down to featherweight and won the belt there, and he became somewhat of a star. Hector Lombard, Alexander Shlemenko, some of these guys were the early stars of Bellator, and it was quite incredible. Lyman Good was the first welterweight champion, if I believe right. And so there were some great early stars when they first came about. But then Bellator started to grow, and what started to happen is Bjorn Rebney signed guys like Rampage Jackson to come over. Roger Herrera came over much earlier, but then Rampage Jackson came over, and they tried that ill-fated pay-per-view with Rampage Jackson versus Tito Ortiz, and I'm glad that didn't come to fruition, because there was no way that was a serviceable pay-per-view, and that was a real poor attempt. But then they had great fights with like Mike Chandler and Eddie Alvarez, one of the greatest fights of all time. My personal favourite fight of all time, the first fight between them. The rematch was great as well. Bellator started to become a lot more serious. Bjorn Rebney left, in came Scott Coker. Scott Coker, when he first came about, he started to do some freak show stuff which I think alienated a lot of fans and burned a lot of bridges, and it was something that a lot of fans didn't want to be seeing. We don't care about freak show fights, so why is there freak show fights? Like, I don't think no hardcore fan wanted to see Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000 when they both almost died, and rest in peace Kimbo. Then you got Ken Shamrock versus Kimbo. You got Ken Shamrock versus Hoist Gracie. These were jokes of fights, and they burnt a lot of bridges. And although they brought in a lot of viewership, this was not something that us as fight fans we wanted to be seeing, nor should we have been seeing this. This was not an exciting time for Bellator. But what Bellator has done is they've walked away from it. And now, when you're looking at true competitors for the UFC, one thing that competitors need, they need true champions. So let's go through their champions. At heavyweight, that's going to be decided this weekend, or depending on when you see this video, it might have already been decided. But it's either going to be Fedor Emelianenko, in my opinion, the greatest heavyweight of all time, who's won back-to-back first-round knockouts over Frank Mir and Chael Sonnen and is having a bit of a resurgence. Or it's going to be Ryan Bader, the current Bellator 205 champion, who had a good resume in the UFC, and he isn't given the credit for what he deserves. He beat guys that are still ranked in the UFC top 10, like Ilia Latifi, Ovin St. Preux. He beat Rashad Evans back when Rashad Evans was relevant. He beat Rampage Jackson. He's beaten Little Nog twice, so he's got some good wins, and he's been in there with everyone. I think in the UFC currently, outside of John Jones at light heavyweight, I wouldn't not pick him against, like Gustafsson may beat him, Dominic Reyes may beat him, but I think he can win those fights as well. Particularly when you saw Gus's last fight when he got taken down and he just can't get it back up. You got to wonder, could Ryan Bader take him down? Now, I would personally expect Gus to be able to outbox him, but he's in there, so without question, he's in the top 5 of the UFC light heavyweight division. There's no question about it. He's also beaten Phil Davis twice, who was a perennial top 10 contender in the UFC. So either way, they're going to have a good heavyweight champion. The light heavyweight champion is Ryan Bader. I already touched on some of his stuff. He's legitimate. At middleweight, you got Gegard Mousasi, who's incredible. 45-6, 8-fight win streak. He left the UFC on a 5-fight win streak. He took out Chris Weidman, took out Uriah Hall, he took out Vitor Belfort, and I would have picked him against a lot of other guys. Took out Thiago Santos, who's doing real good stuff at light heavyweight right now. And I would actually pick Gegard Mousasi over Robert Whittaker. Actually, I might do a fantasy fight breakdown of that. So if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know in the comments. And yeah, and then at welterweight you got Rory Mack, who just got smushed by Gegard Mousasi, but Rory Mack is young. He has a win over the current UFC welterweight champion. I'll pick him in that. He's still only 29 years old. He's still improving. He's a great fighter. He's great. There's no one can tell me otherwise. Rory MacDonald is a legitimate world champion, and he could be a world champion in the UFC. He's still a young man. Underneath him, you got Mike Chandler, who beat Eddie Alvarez, who went on to become the UFC lightweight champion. And Mike Chandler, who's I believe, a 3-time Bellator lightweight champion. That's a good fighter. Patricio Pitbull's legitimate in any sense of the word. You got Darian Caldwell, who, despite his loss to Kyoji Horiguchi recently, he is a legitimate fighter as well. So you've got good champions. In the women's side, you've got Alima Lane McFarlane at 125, who's every bit legitimate. She's outside of Valentina Shevchenko. Who do you pick against her in the UFC? I don't know. And then you got Julia Budd, who's a featherweight champion in Bellator, and UFC doesn't even have a featherweight champion anymore because Amanda Nunes is not coming back. She just took out Cyborg, but she's not a featherweight. She's dropping back down. She's saying she's not going to come back up. She's had one fight at featherweight. I mean, early in her career she had some, but she has no interest in featherweight, so I can't count her. So that means you got to go with Julia Budd. So they've got legitimate champions. Now, that's the current standing. What about the future? Well, they've got guys like Aaron Pico coming up. MVP, he could be a breakout star. If he takes out Paul Daly, I think a lot of fans, myself included, are frustrated that he never got tougher opposition earlier in his career and it's taken him so long. But if he beats Paul Daly, beats Rory Mack, that's a legitimate fighter. AJ McKee's incredible. So you've got some future potential stars that could be breakout stars one day. Vitaly Minikov's come back to Bellator. And Vitaly Minikov will, in my opinion, win the heavyweight title when he fights for the heavyweight title again. He'll be, 22-0 at that point, because I think it's going to be Czech Congo again. And Vitaly Minikov is a legitimate heavyweight champion. How many heavyweights are there out there? 22-0. That's ridiculous. So they've got future potential. Okay? So now, here's what is important for Bellator, is how they play their card. As long as they stay away from the freak show stuff, they've got enough talent now to be able to put on strong cards. Strong cards will draw attention. We've seen recently as well, and this is one of the key things that I think they should try to employ. We've seen recently they have a willingness to cross-promote. They had Darian Caldwell to go over to Horizon. He lost to Kyoji Horiguchi, didn't go well for them, but a willingness to cross-promote is great. Because imagine what opportunities they could come up if they're willing to cross-promote. If Eddie Alvarez is to win the ONE FC Lightweight Championship after the tournament, and I anticipate that he will, and Mike Chandler goes on to defend his title, imagine a trilogy fight between them, and it's a champion versus champion trilogy fight. One champion versus Bellator champion meeting, colliding. Imagine a whole card of that theme. That would be an incredible card. That would be an incredible card, and it will draw a lot of attention. It may even be good as a pay-per-view. If you put Gegard Mousasi on there, put on Gegard Mousasi, put on Rory Mack, stack the card as much as you can. Put Vitaly Minakov. Maybe you do Minakov versus Brandon Vera. That's a fun fight. That's a fun fight. So there's tons and tons of fun fights to be made. And it's very important to see how Bellator makes the next moves. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be an overnight process. It may even take us out of 2020. But if they stay consistent, continue doing what they're doing, building their stream of talent. Vadim Nemkov, sorry, just going back quickly, he's another prospect for the future to watch out for. Vadim Nemkov is incredible. So if they keep doing what they're doing, keep building their talent, keep putting together good cards, keep using the legends to gain exposure to their prospects like they're doing this weekend with Aaron Pico on the Ryan Bader, Fedor Emelianenko card, and people are going to see Aaron Pico. There's no way a casual is going to see Aaron Pico sparking out someone the way he has been at 22 years old and think to themselves, boy, I don't want to see him again. I'll only watch him if he's on a legend card. No, you're going to want to see Aaron Pico. You're going to want to see him flat out. That's a great fighter who's going to do great things. So guys, let me know what you guys think. I think that Bellator can become a competitor to the UFC over years with some consistency, with some hard work, with the right fights. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that this is going to be controversial to hear. But I want to know from you guys. I want to know why you think Bellator can't become it. And it can't just be a matter of, well, they're not the UFC. Because if you're coming with, if you're going to try to come here in the comment section and try to tell me that Gegard's not legitimate, then I have no interest in your opinion. Let me know what you guys think. If this is the first time you checked out any of my content, please like and subscribe for future content. Help me support this channel grow. At the time of recording this video, I'm at 184 subs. Help me get to 200. Help me get to 200. Help me grow this platform. And thank you guys. Mindful Combat. Thanks again, Eric, for the question.